Hey, hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Jeffrey Asamaganda, and I'm the founder of the Action Wealth Academy, the Action Wealth System, and the Action Wealth series of guidebooks and training programs that helps individuals and companies everywhere to be the very best they can be in terms of becoming more competitive. You see, the world is much more competitive today than it was before, and it will even be more competitive in the future than it is today. So we give them tools and strategies to be more competitive in their markets as well as international markets. But we don't actually leave them there. We take them a step further to show them how to create multiple streams of income. You see, gone those days when you can just rely on just one or two incomes. Families today cannot survive one or two incomes. So you need to create multiple streams of income. The rich are financially rich individuals. They're rich because they have tens, if not hundreds, of income streams. So you can't afford to have one income. It's like putting all your eggs in one basket and just pray that nothing happened to that basket. That's not a very good strategy. But also, we don't leave them there. We take them a step further to understand that you need to put that money to work. Because so many people are rich yesterday and they're poor today because they understand to make money, but they don't know how to keep it, protect it, and make it work for them. It's not how much money you're going to make, it's how much money you're going to keep. So how do you take that little money, whatever you've made, turn into something that can basically work for you? You can never ever achieve financial security if you don't put money to work for you. So that's what basically we do. That's what my companies do, as well as interested in so many other things, helping experts to position, package, and promote themselves that can go and make a difference in the world. But today, usually once a week, I'll record a video to answer some questions. But all the questions I've received this week, they're almost relating to what really makes somebody basically keep themselves going, or what can help you basically open doors for you. And I remembered what my dad basically told me. We didn't have many conversations with my dad before he passed away because, I grew up in Uganda. Well, I was born in Uganda, and the first, until I was 14 years old, I was in Uganda. So, and I grew up in the part of Uganda. I was born in the part of Uganda, which is about 40 miles away from Kampala, the capital city, a place called Luwelo. Luwelo, you can Google Luwelo Triangle, you will learn that it's a place that was devastated by war. I remember from the age of 3 all the way to about 10, all I can remember is war. I grew up in the place where, soldiers used to come and just kill everybody. And then there was these guys, the bush war guys, the guys who were fighting this bush war. They just come, they kill one soldier, and then they just disappear. And then the soldiers come and kill all of us because the boys who were actually fighting the bush war, they were local boys. So when the soldiers came, they were looking for asking us, they wanted us to talk, who are these boys, how can they find them, and basically kill them. And as well as the bush guys used to come to our school to recruit guys to join. I was a little kid, I couldn't join. Besides, anything that was involving killing other people, I was never going to be part of it. But I had to do something, and I wasn't one of those kids who usually are part of the group of kids. And our job is to really help out the villagers. It was survival. I mean, they used to come every day. We used to have 5-6 funerals a day, but sometimes it could be worse. But one day, we used to climb the trees and watch the soldiers are coming, and then we go to warn the villagers to hide. And one day, but when it rained, when it rained, we usually don't do that. We come off the trees and we just basically hide in the bush somewhere. And then once the rain, stops, then we can just use footmarks to make a decision whether they've left the village or they're still in the village. And this time, they have very prominent shoes, army shoes, so we can easily see the marks, and we can easily tell if they're facing outside the village, going out the village. We just tell the villagers they've left, and then we just call the villagers to come back and cook. They usually come in the morning, and in the afternoon they go, and in the evening we're able to, and every now and then we could hear that we can get people some warning they'll be coming at night, and you'll have to sleep in the bush. But that day it rained. We saw footmarks pointing, facing out of the village. We told the villagers to come, but they didn't. They were still in the village. Somebody told them what we do, and they were walking backwards. Remember, I'm like 8-9 years old. A group of us kids used to do that because we were good at running. We could run faster than the grown-ups, and we can easily hide. That was our job. And that day, because we kept screaming, hey, come back, everything's fine, they've left. they were listening, they were hearing us, so they started chasing us. Luckily, they were shooting, but it's through a swamp, and none of us got caught. Somehow, God was on our side. We didn't die, basically we survived, but that day I've never been scared in my life. I was used to be one of those kids. I was used to guns, people dying. That was not a big deal. But that day, I knew I was lucky to be alive. That's the first time actually, which is when we were separated running. I went to hide in the bush. And I remember I stayed there for almost 12 hours because I was scared to come out. I came out when like midnight, and people were actually looking for us. The village was looking for us because we all basically got so scared and we all were hiding. I came back like 12 hours later. My friend didn't even come out until the day later. And it was almost, people were worried. And I remember my dad coming to me and telling me that, Jeffrey, what you guys do is good, but it's dangerous. We know we have to survive, but you need to be very careful. However, he also was aware that one day we can easily be separated. And which, by the way, it happened. We got separated. He told me that if anything ever happens, remember one thing. Remember to be useful. Now, there's a way how we explain this thing in my language, but I'm trying to phrase it in English. You remember to be useful. A person who's useful always going to find someone to give them shelter. A person who's useful always going to find somebody to give him something to eat. A person who is useful always going to be given a chance to run or the opportunity to get away, because he was worried that if I get separated, where am I going to sleep? What am I going to eat? And if I end up with the wrong people, who will be give me a chance to get away? That was his concern. But I'll never forget those words, because those words, that day after that talk and after this really incredible experiences of us basically staying alive, and sometimes we forget what we've been through, but it's really, some of us really been through some incredible stuff. I'm sure you've been through some crazy stuff, especially if you grew up in you've been in the war before. You know how it's like. Those kids you see on TV carrying stuff on their heads and, with their feet swollen. That was me, the reason why I support water programs, because we used to drink water running away that you can't even use to clean your car, but that's what you used to drink. I support Give Blood because, my brother died because they said there was no blood at the hospital. And the youth, I support kids, and that's why I wrote the book, Financial Literacy for Teens and Their Parents, because, I believe that we need to teach our kids to be more useful, to take control and take charge of their life, because I did learn to make a profit when I was 9 years old. Because when that day I knew I was lucky to be alive, I went back home, I told my mom, we have to go. My mom refused to move. But I told her that I have to go. There's no way, because I had seen how it's like. But my mother, she's stubborn. She refused to move, and so I left myself and my brothers and my sisters, and one of my sisters stayed. No, two of my sisters stayed behind, and we left, and we joined my auntie and my stepmother. But when we reached the other part of the country, we needed to survive. And I remember when my dad told me, you need to be more useful. So I knew I had to volunteer. I was the boy who knew how to ride a bike. An African bicycle, they have like a kind of like a triangle kind of a frame. I was too small to reach the top, but I could ride in the frame. So it was suggested I'm the boy to go buy goods in about 3-hour ride in a bigger city, buy goods wholesale, bring those goods at our place, sold them retail, and we use the difference, which now I know is profits, to use it to buy food. And that was my first luck. But I remember when my dad told me, be useful. Now my brother, I've got another brother of mine who basically, no way he'll basically volunteer to do nothing. But there's nothing make me better or worse. We were just given different information. And that's why it's important for us to teach our kids what we believe is right. Because you don't know the few conversations I had with my dad that really shaped me over. They've shaped me all my life. Because my dad told me that, don't get people to know you too much, because they know you too much, they don't respect you. And I was like, he told me this when I was 5 years old. And I can tell you that very few people actually are like my house. I can just about say that maybe less than 20 people ever been to my house over the last 20 years in the UK. I mean, it's crazy. You don't realize whatever we tell our kids, it's like imprint on their brains, little brains, and basically stick with them forever. So be careful what you tell your kids. But I remember that basically being useful. It's something that I've used all my life. And it's amazing that when we left the village and we went back, when we after everything cooled down a little bit, we went back home. I kept being useful. I started buying coffee and sell it because I learned to make a profit, you know, when we're on the other part of the country. And then we came back home and I kept really, you know, doing the same thing. I tested how it is like to make money. So I kept making more money, buying coffee and sell it, retail and sell it wholesale. Sorry, wholesale and sell retail, and I made a profit in between. And you know, and then when we had to run away again, this time I didn't want to be the man in the house. I heard of my cousin who left the village, went to Kampala in a place called Waise, one of the most difficult slum parts of Kampala. And my uncle there was repairing and fixing cars. So I knew that I need to go and join my cousin because I need to see how Kampala looks like because I'd never been there. So basically what happens, there was a truck used to bring charcoal, you know, into Kampala, you know, cooking charcoal. And so this truck used to stop at our place. And when it stops, it used to, they used to ask for water, and my auntie used to make banana juice. So I used basically to offer them banana juice, give them water, be nice to them because I wanted to get to know them. Because I knew this truck goes to Waise. That's where my cousin is, and that's where my uncle is. So I knew if I make these guys to become my friends, they will be able to help me out. Now, I didn't expect them to help me to take me for free, but I expected that if they catch me on the truck, because my plan is get on the truck when they're not looking. If they go halfway and then they find me on the truck, they know where I'm from, they know they won't leave me on the street. That's what I did. So that's what happened. 4 in the morning, I jumped in the truck, hid in the covers, drove halfway. They stopped for refreshments and I was kind of suffocating up there. I had to come out and say, listen, I'm here, and they knew who I was. I told them I'm going to see my uncle. They knew this uncle of mine because he usually fixes that car. So they took me to him. He never seen me before. I never seen him before. I told him where I'm from. You see, in Africa, you don't have to make an appointment. He just basically shows up. So now, my uncle didn't have his own garage. He was repairing cars on the streets. You know, I mean, he didn't have his own house. He had a small room. He had a girlfriend. There was no place for me to sleep. You know, but remember, I'm used to sleep in the bush. My dad told me to be useful, so sleeping wasn't an issue. I saw a shade next door. The door wasn't actually working. You used the car spring to keep it holding. So I told him that, listen, we used to sleep in the bush. This is not a big deal. I'll stay here until we figure something out tomorrow. So I slept there, and then I went to meet up with my cousin. I asked him to come and join me, and we stayed in that shed for like a week or so until we moved into a smaller little room we shared together, because he was also staying with his brother and he wasn't happy there. So we joined forces. Point is, now this guy wanted to send me back to the village. But remember when my dad told me, be useful. I joined him at work. I became one of those kids used to help out, you know, but I was not just passing tools. They call them spanner boys. I was doing more than passing tools. I wanted to learn everything I wanted to be more useful, that he will let me stay. And it worked. Within a month, I knew how to take a petrol car apart and put it together. I could change the piston rings, take the head off, change the gasket, time the car. You know, any car, a petrol car, Japanese car with a carburetor, that's what I use, carburetor, I can't even say the word. With a carburetor, I could actually put it together and put it apart. That's what I did. And then one day I remember my dad came looking for me and he told me, oh, he was here, but I haven't seen him, you know, I haven't seen him today because I was working on his car, on a car that he was getting paid fixing. And so I made myself so useful. He now could hide me because I told him, please don't let my dad take me back. You know, I want to go back to school. But if anything, if I was to go back to school, it has to be in Kampala. Did I like to be at the garage? No, I hated every minute at that place. It was dirty, greasy, people speak badly, use foul languages. And because I was a little kid, the smallest kid there, they used to call me Kadogo, small boy. That when it rained, you know, gets with the tail to get under the car. It was me, and I hated the place. But I knew this is my opportunity. Something will happen. An opportunity will rise. Because my dad told me, somebody will open doors for you if you keep yourself being useful. And one day, because I was good at fixing all types of cars, I was sent to fix one of the rich guys, you know, in the country, fix his car. And when I was there, the boy who came to pick up the car was riding a moped. And I was like, this boy looked like 18 years old. And I'm like, how do you get one of these? He said, come and work for me. He was actually kidding, but he didn't realize he's talking to the wrong kid. I didn't like to be at the garage. Going back to the village is not an option. I joined him. I became useful. I told him that, listen, I can work here. Don't worry. You don't have to pay me. You show me how it works. I used to sell goods in the village, and I know how to take care of customers. And you let me show me what you do. You do the buying, I'll do the selling. And I stayed with this young man almost 6 months. I was selling stuff because now my dad doesn't know where I am, and I'm selling. We were selling cosmetic stuff for ladies, and we did so well. He built his house, and in that process, he told me how to to budget, how to balance the books, what came in, what went out. And the guy was so particular, organized, knowing what came in, what went out. He told me all the skills that it takes to manage a small little business. And in the process, I wanted to have my own money. I wanted to make my own money. But I didn't think he was happy about that. I wanted to have my own business to make more money than he makes, but I didn't think that was going to be possible. So I learned from that particular day that he's not going to let me make more money than he makes. So I don't want to work for anybody, and I made a decision from that day, never going to work with anybody, not because by choice, but I realized it wasn't working for me. But at the same time, I want to prove to my dad that I'm good enough and a man can take care of myself, can be able to do so, because this man, he was my hero, and I knew that I can't let him down. So I started trusting these other people. I didn't know, I knew I couldn't compete with my friend. I can't set up my own business. I'm almost going to turn 14 years old. I'm getting old. I don't know what exactly I'm going to do. I know for sure this place is not for me. I can't go back to the garage. I can't go back to the village. I need to be more useful and see what else is going to happen. And I started being nice to these people who used to bring the goods at our place. If they needed teas or coffees or their shoes shined, that was me volunteering. Why? Because these people used to come to London to buy this stuff, to go to Dubai to buy this stuff. So I wanted to know, how do they do it? And in order for me to ask, I needed to do something first. So I had to be nice to them, give them teas and coffees and whatever at the shop, whatever they needed, I could help them get that. They started to trust me. Then I started asking them some basic questions. Where do you buy this stuff? London. How do you go to London? And a passport and a ticket and money, and what's a passport? Because I didn't even know what a passport was. And, do you need to speak English to go to London? And cut the story short, I became more useful with those guys, and they helped me. They gave me all the information I needed. I started working to raise money to get my passport. I started working for other people just to make them like me, because I knew when the time comes, I'm going to need 2 partners to give me those checks that I need to prove that I'm coming here to buy goods. Because I knew that I've been told everything. It took me another 6 months to get all my ideas together. I'm now turned 14. I'm almost going to be 15. I cannot afford to miss the opportunity. I didn't tell my mom, I didn't tell my dad, I didn't tell the guy I worked for, I didn't tell anybody. I told my 9-year-old brother and my 6-year-old sister to escort me to the airport. The person giving me the advice what to do, she helped me about everything, but she did not want me for me to, when I come into the UK, to say that I know her, because in those days, nobody has the stay here. I mean, everybody were here kind of on a visa or something. So I came here on my own. I didn't speak English, and I didn't understand. I was a skinny kid, and I'm not very good at doing the manual labor jobs. But I kept this concept of being more useful. The more I volunteered to work, the more I learned, the more doors open. So really, I want to summarize this, that the message, that a few talks that I had with my father before I passed away, and I mean, it has really influenced my life so much. One of the things I teach, excuse me, kids today in all my programs, you need to make a decision to be useful. Life is about your ability to grow. You can become anything, and the only person always trying to get in the way is yourself. And in order to overcome all those issues is to know that you will get paid. It's not a problem. The wealth will come to you, but you need to become more valuable. We get paid based on the value we bring to the marketplace, and the only way you can become more valuable is to volunteer and do more. Don't expect anything in return. The answers will come to you. Things will happen without even you realizing. Hey, listen. I just want to share with you my little story, and I hope you can share with me your story in the future. If this video has been useful to you, please share with a friend. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I always share some strategies, some ideas, and for this particular video, please try to be more useful. Everything will turn out just fine. You will never ever win if you quit, but you will win if you don't quit. Until next time, you take care. God bless. Bye for now.